All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmy Lee Velez. I am here with Goose,
What up?
Heck,
Yo.
and Gabe. Hustle hard. In this episode, the crew discusses the art of hustling, hustler traits, side hustles, and the habits of a hustler. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Nick Nolte and Troy Carter. Guys, if you're new, thank you for listening. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. We kick things off with a definition from dictionary.com. We define the word hustle: to proceed or work rapidly or energetically, to push or force one's way, jostle or shove, to be aggressive, especially in business or other financial dealings. I think everyone has, and we'll come back to this. Everyone's definition. I think everyone has like their own definition of hustle. But yeah, I guess that's pretty general. All right, cool. So I found this really cool article from addictedtosuccess.com titled 5 Habits of Real Hustlers Who've Created History.
It's got to be interesting.
I'm just trying to figure out where the word real comes in. But seriously though, it's like, is there fake hustlers? I didn't even realize. Is that
Hustle's a hustle.
Real hustler.
right? So I don't know if he means like the legitimacy of a business, or you know what I mean?
Like people that made it big, maybe. I don't know.
Well, hustling and success are two different things, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
A hustler is going to be a hustler. They're going to try to make it happen or do what they can. I think, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can be successful. Obviously, a hustler, I think all successful people have some level of, hustler in them. It's just how it's utilized. For example, though, if you're hustling illegally, that your whole thing can stop. So that doesn't mean that you're not successful. Well, you're not successful in the sense that now you're in jail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
But that doesn't take away the fact that you were a hustler.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
doing everything it takes
Right.
to get to the point where you want to be.
All right, so 5 habits of real hustlers who created history. Number 1, they don't forget where they came from. People who work hard and work their way up never forget about the beginnings when nobody took them seriously. Number 2, they create a habit of sacrifice. Some people think that sacrifice takes about 6 months to a year to get where they want to be, and then they can just relax and enjoy the benefits. They don't understand that hard work and progress are for life if they want to keep their results. Number 3, they learn every day. People who hustle understand that knowledge is their biggest power. You can lack money, you can lack resources, but if you have knowledge and belief in place, nothing can stop you. Number 4, they take risks. Many people get intimidated by risk. In fact, the word itself sounds scary, which is exactly why we should benefit from it. Sometimes you need to take a chance to move forward and learn something new. You can lose, but you can win too. And number 5, they encourage others and support their dreams. Hustling is a hard work and sacrifice. It is one of the most fulfilling activities because it creates progress and makes us grow. True hustlers understand all the benefits of going after their dreams, and they support others to get on board as well. Those are 5, really good habits. The thing, I guess this guy in this article, and it's probably here somewhere, he needs to define what he defines a hustler as. Also, the thing is with hustle, it's one of those words, is it one of those overused words? Sure. Just like boss, or like CEO, as like, oh, okay. The funniest remark I heard someone get called out on was they called themselves a boss. And the guy, it was like a radio station or whatever. This was years ago too. This is when Rick Ross's song came out, I'm a Boss, or whatever, Meek Mill's song. One of them came out, and they go, call us if what your definition of boss is, blah blah blah. So someone who was trying to say like I'm a boss of my own life and whatever, and it made sense like what this guy was saying, like I'm in control basically of my own life and how I operate. But I think they're looking for I guess your traditional
Boss.
Yeah, like owning a business. He's like, how many employees you have? And the dude
man.
said,
Called him
no.
out.
He's like, you're not a boss, dude. Right? And so they got in this like argument. It was a really good conversation though.
Yeah.
funny.
But it was funny. So then that goes back to me with the hustle thing. What do you define a hustler is, right? Or someone who hustles. Her definition is going to be different than my definition, just based off that article. So if you could define what you think a hustler is, it's very general, what's being stated. And obviously it's just for, it's not like she wrote a book on it. It was just it's just a quick little article. And I like, what's written there. It's definitely good advice. Then there was another one by Lifehack. It's called How to Hustle, 10 Habits of Highly Successful Hustlers. And I'm just going to kind of go through these ones, and then I just kind of want to go around, or whoever wants to, chime in as to, their definition of a hustler or hustle, one who hustles, and we'll get into it. So this was How to Hustle, 10 Habits of Highly Successful Hustlers from lifehack.com. Number 1, help people. Highly effective hustlers don't fall into the trap of seeing potential customers as people who can be coerced, deceived, manipulated, or ripped off. Again, what is your definition of a hustler?
Sure.
We'll just say, okay, fair enough, help people. Number 2, make friends. Highly effective hustlers don't see their field as dog-eat-dog world where every other person is a competitor to be destroyed or eliminated. That's true, but it's definitely, I see the make friends, but it depends on what industry you're in. Mm-hmm. Some industries, that's just the nature of them.
But I guess the point is that not everybody's your enemy, I guess.
Sure. And I think that's more of a personality thing. I don't think that's necessarily because there has been successful, quote, hustlers in American history, and we can get into that, who literally made it that the world was against them. That's their upbringing was like that.
Sure.
And so that was their thought process, and that was really their driving force, was to prove everyone else wrong. All right, number 3, eliminate distractions. This is a good one. Highly effective hustlers know their business isn't going to build itself while they refresh their Facebook feed for the 100th time today. It's hilarious. Number 4 and I guess number 3 are kind of one and the same. It says get focused. Yeah. Highly effective hustlers, while they might juggle more than one long-term project at a time, they're avid single taskers who become possessed by a task at hand. The task at hand. This was going back to our episode Shiny Object Syndrome. Remember that?
Absolutely.
Focus is huge. Improve daily. Highly effective hustlers are followers of the Kaizen philosophy and strive to continuously improve every day. If personal growth isn't pursued, they know it is awfully easy to find themselves living in a state of monotony where progress stagnates and inspiration dies. Very true. Number 6, think big. Highly effective hustlers aren't afraid of pursuing an idea that is bigger than themselves. When stress or doubt clouds their judgment, they can take a deep breath and remind themselves, if it was meant to be easy, everybody would do it, which is the classic personal development statement in the self-help industry. So think big. Number 7, play chess. I personally like Connect 4. Just kidding. Highly effective hustlers play chess while everybody else plays checkers. They are outstanding strategists who are capable of foreseeing every likely outcome of their actions and are thus prepared for whatever possibility life might throw at them. That also goes with, thinking big, but being flexible is one of those things when you're, playing chess, so to speak, because it says whatever possibly life can throw at them. Number 8, are authentic. Highly effective hustlers embrace their true selves, no matter how awkward or weird certain things about them might be. They know that nobody wants to work with a phony, so they embrace total authenticity, creating a genuine emotional connection that is unique and special to every person they work with. Okay. Number 9, fail often. Highly effective hustlers don't stress out about making mistakes because they know that failure is the most effective teacher in existence. They probably are familiar with the Thomas Edison quote, "I have not failed, I just have found 10,000 ways that won't work. If Thomas Edison was persistent enough to keep trying after failing over 1,000 times, highly effective hustlers can succeed despite the occasional mistake. And the last one, 10, never surrender. Highly effective hustlers can get behind the mantra, you don't lose until you quit, so don't quit. They know that success isn't a, quote, quick or easy for anybody, so they let go of their need for instant gratification and practice patient with the process. This was good, right? This was, again, lifehack.com. Excuse me. How to Hustle, 10 Habits of Highly Successful Hustlers. Any thoughts on those?
Well, I guess that's like hustling is like interchangeable with just successful habits in general.
Right.
So it's like it's easy to like you can. It's just business principles like we always talk about. It's like if you do the right things, like most likely a lot of the right things are going to happen for you. Like I said, plan ahead and kind of be interchangeable and all that stuff. Is like.
But this, yes, exactly. But this goes back to this has nothing to do with intentions.
Sure.
And this is like my not a constant argument, but it's just like you have to be able to clarify. That's the reason why. What is your definition of a hustler? Because my hustler definition isn't good or bad.
Yeah.
Right. As in their definitions are all good.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
so. Okay. For example, like I'm a hustler and I'm using all the principles they're saying, but it's negatively impacting people, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I could be successful in a negative way,
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
Super successful dictators that this world has known,
absolutely, yeah.
who are quote successful in their mind. That's what they thought was successful or whatever, and they're using certain principles. The way life works, the application of success principles or hustler principles or whatever it is. The universe doesn't care. Actually, your intention to a specific, there's no judgment placed on that.
Sure.
That comes around in a different way. And we can get in, that's almost like a whole other episode. But if you're doing the right things, like if there's items that you're doing, tasks that you're doing, you're going to get a result.
Sure.
Regardless if you intend harm
Absolutely.
or
Right.
if your intentions are good.
I feel like it all depends on what you're hustling for. Like you could be hustling for, say you're I don't know, you're in a jam with your family, you're financially in a jam. You'll hustle like anything you have. You go to a flea market, sell what you have. You'll try to make things work. Or you're in your career and you're trying to hustle up the ladder in your position, in like budget positions. You'll do what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of hustling. Doesn't necessarily, I mean, in that sense, it's like for financial, but it doesn't always have to be for, you're hustling for money. You could be hustling for like a benefit of some sort,
Yeah, absolutely.
or you hustle for like to be in a I don't know, around a better group of people. Like you have to prove yourself you're at their level or something or whatever, vice versa. But like hustling doesn't always have to be like, oh, I'm hustling. Like people always, like you said,
Make it sound negative.
yeah, like it's like you're on the streets, you're hustling on the streets for something bad. But meanwhile, you could be hustling on the streets like positive things, like selling clothes or whatever, and bringing back that income for your family to provide for your family.
Exactly. So when I was saying, going back to where I was saying about intention, the intention is for you,
Yeah.
right? So now the universe is operating on you, just Gabe Rivera, heck, or Goose, or Jim. It's not when your results come in. So for example, it's like the fuel. Like we go back to saying the fuel. So that's when my intentions come in. If I have that personal drive because someone said to me when I was a little kid that I'll grow up to be nothing, that's going to be, see how my intention now is my driver? That's what's going to drive me. But that has nothing to do with my tasks, right? So my intention is my gas. But my task, if I do certain things a certain way, I'm going to get results regardless. My intentions are totally different, right? So my intentions could now mean how fast I get results, how smart I am about going about hustling, because there's some dumb hustlers out there, right? There's some people, not dumb, but they're hard-headed. You're not learning from your mistakes, and that was one of the 10 things that Life Hack was talking about. Being okay with failure, playing chess, understanding that, and I think that's like such a tough guy thing to say. Oh, you gotta play chess when everybody's playing checkers. You don't know that until you've gone through experiences, because you don't know what the game of chess is. You don't know that. You don't even know when you first start out, you don't even know you're playing chess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Until you have an instructor, a mentor, or whatever. And we use those, again, more terms that are used more loosely. But I'm not saying you have to pay somebody. I'm not saying you have to go to school to get these things. It was like, for me, it was my dad, watching my dad and just watching the little things. We're selling stuff at the flea market, seeing how he would purchase something. So I know I said this on like one of the very beginning podcasts, but it's something that always stays stuck to me. So if you're at a flea market and those people are quote hustling, goods, something that you want, it was I never forget, it was something, I think it was like a video game or something like that, where I got so excited. I wanted this video game for a while, and the one video game guy who's always selling wasn't there that day, and I was all bummed out. I'm like, I for sure saved up, I think it was like $5 or $10 or something. It's like a Nintendo game. I was a kid. And I ran up to the table, I picked it up, I jumped up for joy, and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. My dad's like, put it down. I'm like, what? I'm like, Dad, I talked about this on the ride. He's like, put it down. And I'm like, okay. So we go, and he kept walking, and I started crying or whatever. Not like tears down my eyes, like just like pouting.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? He's like yanking me. He's like, listen, if you want something, just walk up, look at it. Make sure you inspect it, make sure it works. Ask if it works. Ask him for a price and put it down every time. The fact that you walked up there and you got excited, you jacked up the price.
Right.
And so
Made
he
it more
saw that
more
emotion.
valuable.
So now people were buying off emotion.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I was going to sell that for $5 for real, right? Now I'm going to sell for $8. Just because someone wants it that bad, they're going to pay the price. And all of a sudden you see a little kid and the kid's with the dad behind him. The dad's like, oh, whatever. Yeah, let's just get it. Meanwhile, if I just picked it up and just put it down like I didn't want it, he said, you got to act like you don't want it. And so that's what I would do now. So I'm like, how much? And they give me a price. I'm like, does it work? That was another thing. I bought stuff that didn't work. I didn't know. I was operating the way I operated. I was purchasing the way I would sell something. And my dad's like, you can't sell it. You can't buy like that. You can't buy how you sell. You gotta buy like the dirtiest person selling you something.
Yep.
That they're always trying to have one up on you. And I didn't know half the stuff he was saying. It didn't really sink in when I'm an 8-year-old, 7-year-old kid. And then you grow up, and again, that guy was playing chess. I was playing checkers. I didn't know. So you can't say, oh, you're playing chess. You don't know you're even in the game.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Right.
know I was in the game. I thought I was just in the selling game. Then you realize you're in the buying and the selling game. That's part of it. I didn't even know there was another part of the table. Right? And so now I'm putting my emotions into something. And okay, lesson learned. I get it now. Yeah, I mean, I sold broke stuff to people. I didn't know it was broken. Again, ignorance, right? It was in a box, and my dad was very honest with people who say it doesn't work. But at these flea markets, there's a lot of people who are like mechanics, and these dudes will fix it, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why it might be in the trash for somebody, right? So then if we pick it up, we tell them, look, it's like a box fan. We think like it needs a new motor, but we're only selling it for $2.
Yeah.
You get a motor for even $5. And for $7, you have a brand new fan.
Exactly.
If you
Right.
go to Walmart or something, it's $20. So you're saving $13, right? With a little bit of elbow grease. So it makes sense. That's how you make money in that area. But in my mind, I'm like, I don't know. I was just selling everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, so that mentality, going back to the chess thing, then you realize all of a sudden, with experience, there's a lot of stuff that we did, even growing up my entire life, that I got. I didn't know what I was doing, just ignorance. But a lot of that stuff will get me to another place in another industry, though.
Sure.
Does that make sense? So all those lessons I learned from the failures that I had are now pushing me in a different direction for several things that are successful that I have. Right? What I mean, okay. So I know we kind of went through a couple definitions. But does anyone want to kind of put out there what they think a hustler is? Do they think do you think you're a hustler, or like what? When you hear that word, what's it mean in your head?
Well, hustler for the most part. I mean, generally it seems like it has like a monetary like tone to it, but
Yeah.
But for the most part, it is kind of knowing what you want and going after it, no
Yeah.
matter not the consequence, but no matter what gets in your way, you're gonna figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, that's a really good definition. Yeah, because in the beginning, a lot of stuff you're not making money. You're just launching, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing coming in, but you know that at your end result, once you are on your way, eventually, something will start coming out of it.
Sure.
And if there's not, then you got to make decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
We're in the black. We're in the red. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like you're grinding something out, or
Yeah.
like I see it can like work with like with your work ethic. Someone that has like really good work ethic, they're grinding it out day in day out. They're hustling. You see it from the outside in. you see, like, one of my barbers, I see him, he's there before I am, he's there after. And in my mind, I'm like, yo, he's hustling. He's getting all his customers, he's getting as many customers as he can, and he's not letting nothing pass him. He's hustling in my eyes, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. And if you break it down, that comes up to work ethic, and he's grinding it out. Like, he's sacrificing hours of his day, and, like, that's, to me, that's part of a hustler, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hustling.
So kind of switching gears a little bit, do you have a favorite movie that was based on a hustle or hustling, and why? I mean, for me, the classic one. When I thought of this question, I thought a heck of the movie Casino, because I know you.
I was
love
just
the
about
movie
to say
Casino.
that.
But for me, it definitely goes down to any mobster movie. Number one would be Scarface. Just seeing a guy come from another country, come to this country, and regardless of how he was hustling, what he was doing, he was gonna make it happen regardless. I mean, you hear people talk about all the time about Pablo Escobar, how if the guy went legit, he would be the size of like a Pepsi, beyond like a Pepsi CEO or a Coca-Cola CEO, something crazy like that. So these guys are bright as bright can be, but the thing that I love is that they have the cojones to do it, to pull it off. It's like, dude, you have the guts.
There's no
to go
fear behind it.
Or there might be fear. It's just the fact that you had the guts to still do it. Just fight through the fear. Just walk through it. It's like, I'm sure there's a lot of situations. There's a lot of situations that all of us did at some point, you're like very uncomfortable with, and you still kept going because you knew it was the right thing, or you knew it would help you get to where you want. But yeah, all those just basically coming from nothing and, you know, making it to the top kinds of things were motivators. I remember like even just watching certain movies on rerun.
I just saw it not too long ago. It was Once Upon a Time in America.
Oh wow,
dude, that's a
long.
Great movie though.
It's like 10-hour long movie.
It is. It's about 4 hours long.
It's so long.
I don't know if you guys ever see it. I know Jim Lee's seen it.
Yeah,
but it's like a good movie. These little kids come out from hustling from, you know, right in New York, straight off the boat. Yeah. And they learn, they work their way up into running their own business. Like running, I mean, you know, not legit businesses, but they have some cover up and stuff. Sure. But it's I can't explain the movie, but the movie is really good. How you show from what a child sees to become a grown up.
I mean, it's based on obviously true stories, because it truly happened. Guys, we're talking 100 years ago. It's not that long ago where the face of America was totally different, right? You know, now we're like
open for everyone to grab too.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Basically, you made it.
Well, that's the era we're in now. We're in a whole new, with the internet. It's the Wild Wild West again. Yeah, but they call it the World Wide Web. It's the 3 other W's. But previously, it was open. I mean, you gotta think, like, these guys were doing stuff that we literally can't do now. You can't just go in and like steal and rob banks and like to the level that they were doing then. There was no cameras then. You put on a hanky and then you just walk in. And you had the cojones to do it, and you walk down. Boom! People made livings off these kinds of things. You can't track people. There's no GPS. I can hide in a bunch of bushes and you might as well just forget it because it's too dark. Because the lighting, there was no lighting as good as it was now. Right. I mean, it's just all these little things that okay, that makes sense, but. You know, now you have like internet hustles and all kinds of like things that you can do. And then you have like the black web where these people are illegally getting information and selling it and doing whatever they're doing. I have no idea, but there's another world that we don't even know even exists, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's actually scary. Black web.
And I just keep thinking about like the internet is it's just wild, dude. Like think about just like even like investing. I could literally trade stocks from home and make a killing from the comfort of my own house.
Well, before you had to contact your stockbroker.
Exactly.
10 hours of when the stock was open and
pick up the phone, or they're calling you, freaking trying to sell you on something, which is most of the part of where where people got in trouble with.
That's with insider trading and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's just a mess. But anyway, so beyond that, and then even still, like that game changed when telephones were legit and people had personal telephones, not just like a business telephone. So now people are calling, like in the 50s and 60s, now you're making phone calls. Before, it was totally different. Like the ticket tapes and stuff. Everyone's on the floor yelling and whatever. It's like
That's crazy.
yeah. But anyway, so obviously technology changes hustles, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
even if it is the same, they're totally modified. So look at the stock market from the 20s versus the stock market from 2020, right? What's the difference? A lot. But anyway, can hustle be taught?
Well, yeah, you just said it. Pop showed you not to show emotion. When you want that video game, you got all excited, and he said, put it down. He showed you don't get too excited to get something that you want because the value goes up because the other person can see the value go up on it. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's, again, it goes back to the old saying, I think it's up to the person. It's up to the kid, let's just say.
Sure. Yeah.
If he wants to learn, you can learn a, quote, hustle or how to, quote, strive and have success habits by watching anybody.
Sure.
Because there's some lazy people out there and you can learn a lot from them. You know what I mean? What not to do, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Let's do the opposite of what this person's doing. So yeah, I mean, I think it is, but I also think it's in that it goes back to the fuel. It's how inspired are you to make that change and to want or to get the thing that you actually want. If there's not enough pain or drive or whatever it is that's the indicator that's going to shove you in that direction,
Or like you always said, like what's your why? How strong is your why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need that anchor because, like we talk about all the time, today we could leave here motivated as motivated could be, and then tomorrow we wake up with a headache and someone yelling at you, and it's just not as motivating.
Sure.
As when the guys were here and rah rah and whatever. That's why, again, this is whatever the third episode I'll say, but you need the inspiration and the motivation. You need both.
Both of them.
And yeah, and so that inspiration is definitely going to be the anchor. For you guys, what's a trait every hustler must have that you think, even if it was one from the list? I mean, for me, it has to be resiliency. Like, you have to be resilient. You're going to get lumped up.
Yeah.
I would say, I guess that goes along with the you have to be willing to fail.
Yeah. Yes. And the one that has been like one of my biggest lessons as of late is risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it was you're doing stuff and you're trying to do them so calculated that you're not really all in per se. Like I think to get the result and to make quote dreams come true and all this good stuff, you have to risk basically everything, if not everything.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to, I should say.
Yeah.
Because once I believe you're willing to put that all on the line, dude, I get the chill saying this. Once I believe you're putting it on the line or you're willing to, a lot of, things just start happening that you weren't. I genuinely feel like, the universe, God, they see how bad you actually want it.
Yeah. And bigger risk, bigger reward.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't take the risk, you're not gonna don't expect to get much out of it.
Right. And it's that old Eric Thomas saying, and I apologize if I'm butchering it, but it goes along lines like you have to want success as bad as you want to breathe. And so it goes along out. It's like this old story he gives about like a mentor and a student, and the student goes up to the mentor and says, "I want to be successful. I want to be successful." He's like, "You really want to be successful?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Tomorrow morning, 5:00 in the morning, meet me at the beach." He's like, "Okay." Super weird, but okay. So he meets him at the beach. He has bathing suit on, ready to go. He's like, walk out into the ocean. He's like, okay. So he starts walking out into the ocean. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'll walk out with you. He's like, okay. He's like, it's super cold. He's very uncomfortable. He doesn't know what's going on. But he trusts this guy enough, obviously. And he keeps getting deeper and getting deeper. Now it's getting up to his neck. He's like, what do you want me to do now? He's like, I'm literally like floating here.
Like bobbing.
Yeah. He goes, go deeper. He's like, I can't. Am I going to just start swimming? And the guy gets him and shoves him underneath the water and is holding him down like a bear hug underneath the water. And the dude is fighting, getting crazy, like literally panicking. Finally, the mentor lets go. And he's all out of breath. He's like, what are you doing, flipping out? You're trying to kill me. Da, 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 da. He's like, you have to want it so bad as you want to breathe under that water. If you don't want it that bad, it'll never come to you.
Wow.
So think about that visual, like you're really trying to, you're doing anything in your will to take that next breath. Like, screw everything else. I need that breath. That's how bad you have to want it in order to succeed. It's like a crazy visual too.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to round back, like if you're not resilient, like I said, you're gonna get bamboozled. Regardless, even if you plan well.
Yeah.
There's stuff I plan very well. This okay. If this happened, even planning for error, and still something unexpectedly, it's like
if you're weak-willed and any negative happen, then it's not worth it to you. Then it's like
right.
Then your why is not big enough to overcome that negativity.
Exactly, and so it just kind of goes back to the whole resilient thing, day in and day out, inspiration, knowing the why. All right, so this is what would you do? What would you do if you had to raise $50,000 extra income by the end of this year?
Like residual? I mean, like
just 50 grand,
or just get that amount by the end of the
year. You have to get that amount additional
on top of what you already do.
Yes.
Oof.
What do you think you would do? Obviously, none of us are in that position.
Me personally, I'd start working more.
Yeah, say get another job or something.
Yeah.
Work. Yeah.
Start selling everything I could.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. But and that goes back to the point where you have to be willing to give it up. Give everything up, or willing to whatever. Because you just said I'll sell it all, right? If you need to come up with that, like if you need to come up with it. So the example I gave like 2 podcasts ago was talking about your kid. For your kid, in order for, I mean, it's a very drastic example, and I'm not, whatever. And I do have kids of my own, but I heard this wasn't my original example either. I heard this before, and it's not just for motivation. It's really to put things in perspective. To ask yourself, how bad do you want something? If you want it as bad as breathing, you'll find a way. So the guy was saying, whatever, somebody came up with a number. Let's just say it's 100,000, or let's just say it's the 50 grand. And you're like, I don't know what in the world I'm going to be doing. I mean, I don't, what if I make just $50,000 now? I got to double my income. Like, how am I supposed to do that? Right. And then all of a sudden someone's like, listen, no one asks you what you're making right now. If your kid's life is on the line and you have to come up with this $50,000 by December 31st, what are you going to do? Are you going to figure out a way? In my mind, it doesn't matter. Am I going to? I will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. But then I also can't have that in my back of my mind and then go about approaching my dreams in a weak way.
Right.
Because then that means I don't want it. I'm not trying to compare the things to a human life, but I'm saying to some level, everyone can relate to that. Right? Regardless if you have kids or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough example in your head, both the breathing one and the whole other life one.
Right. So then what if you reach that $50,000 mark? Do you stop there? Or you saw that you hustled, do you continue it?
I guess that depends on the
person.
It depends on the person. I mean, the point was just can you come up with that money?
Yeah.
Can you do it?
Can you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, what if you end up getting greedy with it? Like, oh yeah, all right. So I busted my behind off for the past 6 months. I brought 65,000 home instead of the 50 grand.
Well, I think there's spurts, and I think there's going to be a lot of lessons. I mean, if you have 4 months to do it, and you're going hard for 4 months, you're going to burn out.
Right.
So that won't continue, but you'll find ways on how to make money for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably not that
and
much
you
at the
can't
moment.
Borrow it was the other thing I think it was.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Obviously, forget us cheating right there.
Go find me.
Borrowing it.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, I think that's a personality thing. Like if you're traditionally a greedy person, it doesn't matter whether you have money or not. People are greedy with food. People are greedy with their possessions outside of money. It's just a personality thing. So
yeah.
But yeah, the money thing can come, and then you can. I just think that's a personality thing. Because I've seen people who became ridiculously successful and are still the nicest people on earth and give away to multiple charities, have their own charities. It's crazy. So they turned into even a better person
Right.
out of the
They
experience.
learned from it. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so there you have it, folks. We'd like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Troy Carter. Hustle is simple. It's doing the work. A lot of people like to talk about it. A lot of people have ideas, but it's difficult to actually do the work. And Nick Nolte, you have to struggle a bit, hustle a little, and be willing to go bankrupt. Once you're willing to do that, everything opens up and you get the freedom.
That kind of goes back to what you were talking about.
Yeah. All right, so there you have it. Hustle hard. In this episode, the crew discusses the art of hustling, hustler traits, side hustles, and the habits of a hustler. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Nick Nolte and Troy Carter. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyLeeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyLeeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.